Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how to do the crumple zone section of the experiment. You'll be pleased to know that this is much easier to do than the airbag section. The more difficult part of this is the analysis. If you're in a core class, you're going to do a very simple analysis with graphs. If you're in an extension class, then your analysis is a little bit more complex, but the assignment sheet takes you through the steps on how to do that. It's not really that hard, it just takes time to do. So as far as the actual experiment is concerned, this is quite easy. What you want to do is create a crumple zone that you're going to put in front of a cart. You're going to run the cart down a ramp and into something that it will crash into at the end. You will keep the angle with the ground the same. Okay, so you're not going to move the ramp up and down. It's just going to be in one spot. Your cart will sit here like this, and the crumple zone that you make will be made of cardboard, and it will be at the front, and it will have a bit of a cylinder type shape to it. Okay, so this will run down here, crash into there, and then you measure the difference in the length of the crumple zone before and after. Okay, so you have to measure it before you crash it into something so that you know how long it started, as. So to make the crumple zone itself to tape to the front of the cart, you need to get some cardboard or paper, and you cut out a trapezoid like this. Okay, how big? Well, you should probably do it about the size of two 10-cent pieces. Okay, so about that size, probably about the length of your finger. Okay, so about that long this way. You're then going to roll it so that the bottom here makes a circle. Okay, so when you roll it up, it should look something like, and this is a little bit difficult to draw, but it should look something like this. Okay, so this side here of the trapezoid is that bit there. Alright, so it overlaps here at the bottom with the first side. So this bit here and this bit here are going to overlap at the bottom there. Okay, so that you get basically a crumple zone, and this will be the front, and this end will be taped to the cart on the outside. Okay, so there's the front of the cart there, looking from above. So the idea behind this is that as it hits the wall or whatever it is that you're running into, the front of the crumple zone is the weakest because it has the least amount of paper or cardboard there. All right. As it crumples, it gets stronger and stronger because there are more layers of cardboard down here and down here. Okay, or more area overlapping. So your crumple zone is stronger, and therefore it will resist being crushed a little bit more. What you want to do is make a few of these, and you want to make them identical. Okay, if you make them different, then you're going to have issues because the crumple zones will crumple differently. All right, so make sure that you make a few before you actually start the experiment, and make sure that they're all the same. You will want to probably tape it together so that it doesn't fly apart when it hits the end of the ramp. Alright, so you have made a couple of crumple zones. You now attach one to the front of your cart here, and once you've done that, you start running it down the ramp. So the variable that you can change here is the distance up the ramp where you start. Okay, so you get a ruler and you measure up the ramp, and you go, okay, I'm going to start at whatever, 20 centimeters, 40 centimeters, and go up in consistent amounts up the ramp. And obviously the higher up the ramp you start, there's my stand, the higher up the ramp you start, the faster it's going to go when it hits the bottom, and therefore the more kinetic energy it has, therefore the more the crumple zone is going to crumple. All right? Remember, you have to measure how long your crumple zone is before you run it into the end, because you won't be able to measure it afterwards. Once your crumple zone has crumpled, discard it, and then attach a new one to do the next test with. It's pretty simple overall. If you were really keen, you could then, because this will only take you 5 minutes, right? If you're really keen, you can then make different crumple zones, so make the same thing that you made here, but make it a little bit longer, okay? And see what difference that makes, and you could maybe do 3 different types of crumple zone to represent 3 different types of car, or you could make them shorter, same sort of idea. All right, and that will give you a little bit more to talk about in your results, but primarily the thing that you're changing is the starting height, so that will change the speed at which it travels. So when you come to do your graph, you're going to do the speed or the velocity of the cart against the crumple distance, which will be the displacement, okay? That is from the start of the crash to the end of the crash. That's the difference between your starting crumple zone and your finishing crumple zone, okay? This is a proxy measurement for acceleration or force, okay? So just keep that in mind, but what you're actually measuring is displacement, and you should find that, and you do a line graph for this one, as you increase the velocity, the crumpling increases, okay? If you're in an extension class, you're expected to take that a little bit further and do a couple of calculations that represent the acceleration experienced by the car. If you're in a core class, you can just stop at this point with the graph, all right? The last thing to remember is that in this experiment here, you're not concerned about having a passenger in the car, right? The airbag experiment looked at the effect on the passenger. This experiment here looks at the effect on the car and how quickly the car stops, because that quick stop will obviously be transferred to the passenger, and the airbag is what has to compensate for that second collision between the passenger and the front of the car. All right, so that's pretty much it. Overall, a simpler experiment, just a little bit more to it with the analysis.